Look at these two physiques. Both individuals can squat the exact same weight, both possess identical core strength, and both carry the same mass in their abdominal muscles. Yet one has a sharply defined midsection, and the other is completely flat. The natural assumption is that the person with the carved stomach simply does hundreds of crunches every day. But standard crunches alone do not explain the physical difference between these two torsos. The standard crunch is a highly restricted mechanical movement. It primarily activates just the topmost section of the abdominal wall, ignoring the vast majority of the core's muscular anatomy. Achieving a visible core is not a matter of finding one magic exercise. It requires satisfying two entirely distinct biological conditions. This graphic shows the biological equation we have to solve. On the left side, we have muscle hypertrophy, the physical building of the abdominal tissue. On the right side, we have fat reduction, the clearing away of the tissue covering it. Both inputs generate the final visible result. If you pour all of your effort into training the muscle, you maximize the hypertrophy side. But look at the output. Without addressing the right side of the equation, your visible result stays firmly at 0. Until both independent variables are triggered, those muscles will stay hidden. This 3D vector map shows the complete architecture of the human core. It's not a single flat sheet on the front of your stomach. We are looking at 3 distinct structural zones: the upper abs, the lower abs, and the lateral obliques. The upper abs act as the primary hinge for the top half of your body, contracting to pull your ribcage down and curling your torso toward your hips. The lower abdominals handle the opposite end of the structure. They engage to tilt your pelvis upward and lift your legs, while keeping the entire midsection rigid. Wrapping around the sides are the obliques. They drive torso rotation and provide the lateral depth that gives the waistline a carved, 3-dimensional look from every angle. If a workout routine misses any of these 3 zones, the resulting muscle growth will be uneven, leaving the midsection looking flat and incomplete. To build the lower section of that architecture, the primary mechanical tool is the reverse crunch. The mechanism here requires rolling the pelvis upward off the floor. If you simply swing your legs back and forth, momentum takes over, and the lower abs do almost no work. You have to lift the hips and pause briefly at peak contraction. For integrating the upper abdominals with the obliques, we use the bicycle crunch. Most people pedal through this movement as fast as possible, which actually disengages the core. True muscle fiber activation requires an incredibly slow, deliberate rotation. Finally, to maximize the lateral depth of the obliques, the required movement is the Russian twist. Tapping hands from side to side accomplishes nothing. The mechanical goal is to rotate the entire rib cage, forcing lateral muscles to contract against resistance. Executing these 3 specific mechanics 2 to 3 times a week solves the hypertrophy side of the equation. The physical muscle will be built, but constructing a dense, fully developed core does not guarantee anyone will ever see it. This diagram shows the exact physiological barrier in the way. At the top is a layer of skin. At the bottom is the red, ridged muscle tissue we just built, and sandwiched directly between them is a layer of subcutaneous fat. This lipid layer acts exactly like a heavy blanket. As it expands, it completely smooths out the surface of the skin, perfectly masking the 3-dimensional ridges of the muscle underneath. Contracting those abdominal muscles through exercise does not burn the specific fat cells resting on top of them. The body does not spot-reduce fat based on which muscle is currently moving. As long as that subcutaneous blanket remains thick, the strongest, most structurally sound core in the world will remain entirely hidden. This brings us to the reduction side of the equation, which is solved entirely away from the workout mat. This line graph maps out the biological mechanism that removes the barrier. By maintaining a caloric deficit, the body consumes stored energy, shrinking the subcutaneous fat. By taking in adequate protein, the muscular architecture is preserved, revealing the ridges beneath it. Doing endless repetitions of ab exercises without controlling the caloric intake is simply building a structure in the dark. When you deliberately apply mechanical tension to all 3 zones of the core and consistently shrink the subcutaneous barrier through a caloric deficit, a visible six-pack is no longer a guessing game. It becomes a biological inevitability.